If you ever find yourself driving alone on an American highway at night and you see a rundown motel that isn't supposed to be there, don't pull over, because if you do, you might hear knocking from inside the walls. 3 knocks. Slow, deliberate. And if you stop long enough to listen, it'll know you're there. This is the story of Caleb Rhodes, the last man who spent a night in room 7, and the first man who walked out without being entirely human. Caleb had crossed the Arizona desert 100 times. Los Angeles to Albuquerque and back again. Pick up cargo, deliver it, keep moving. No coworkers, no passengers, just him and the dull voice of his GPS. But tonight, the desert was pitch black. No moon, no stars. A darkness so thick it felt like something was pressing down from above. The GPS froze, radio static, no cell signal. And then, the low fuel light flicked on. "Come on," Caleb muttered. He scanned the empty highway. Nothing, no gas stations, no rest stops. Just endless black asphalt disappearing into void. Then he saw it. A faded green sign leaned to one side. Exit 17, Sunset Vista Motel gas. Food, rooms. A single arrow pointed into the darkness. Caleb didn't have a choice. He turned off the highway. The lights of the interstate vanished behind him, as if swallowed whole. A dirt road curved down into blackness, lined with dead desert shrubs. Then out of the dark, a flickering neon glow appeared. Sunset Vista Motel looked abandoned. Peeling paint, cracked windows, a half-broken neon sign. Sunset Vista Motel. The letters I, T, and the second T were dead. 3 cars were parked out front, each coated in a layer of dust so thick it looked like they'd been left there for months. Caleb stepped out of his truck. The silence hit him instantly. No wind, no insects, no distant highway hum. Just a heavy, unnatural nothingness. He pushed open the office door. A bell chimed weakly. An old man shuffled out from the back room. Gaunt face, yellowed hair, eye bags so deep they looked carved. Name tag, Harold. He stared at Caleb for several seconds, like he was looking at a ghost. "You traveling alone?" Harold rasped. "Yeah, just need a room and some gas." Harold nodded slowly. "You can stay, but you need to leave before sunrise." Caleb frowned. "Is that a rule or a threat?" Harold didn't smile. He opened a drawer of room keys. His hand hovered over room 7, then jerked away sharply as if it burned him. He grabbed the key for room 5 instead. "Stay in your room," Harold said quietly. "Don't wander. Don't listen to anything you didn't ask for." As Caleb turned toward the rooms outside, he heard a distant sound. Knock, a single knock, from somewhere deep in the row of rooms, but Harold ignored it, as if it happened every night. Room 5 was worse than Caleb expected. A stale mattress, a stained carpet, flickering lamp, walls yellowed with age, but it had a lock. Good enough. Caleb collapsed onto the bed and let exhaustion take over. 20 minutes later, he jolted awake, not because of noise, because of the absence of it. Silence so complete his ears rang, trying to fill the void. No AC, no fridge hum, no traffic, not even his own heartbeat. Just a suffocating absolute stillness. Caleb sat up. The temperature had dropped. The air hung heavy and dense. Then, knock. His blood froze. A single knock behind the headboard. He stared at the wall. Then, knock, knock. 3 knocks total. Slow. Measured, like something was making sure he heard it. Caleb pressed his ear to the wall. Nothing. Then right inside his ear, a whisper, wet and close. "Caleb," he screamed, stumbling backward and hitting the dresser. No one knew his name. He hadn't spoken it to anybody. Caleb grabbed the door handle, desperate to get out, and the wall knocked again. Knock, knock, knock. This time, it almost sounded like the wall was laughing. Caleb tore outside. Desert air cut through him like ice. He stopped dead in the parking lot. The 3 abandoned cars had breath on their windshields, foggy handprints smeared from the inside. Car 1, one clear handprint. Car 2, several sliding downward in frantic streaks. Car 3, long dragging marks, like fingers too long to belong to a person. Caleb staggered back. Then he turned toward his own truck. His stomach dropped. Fog, and a single handprint, except this one was bigger than any human hand he'd ever seen. He stepped back. Rough night? Caleb spun around. Harold stood under the neon sign, his expression grim. "I'm leaving," Caleb said. "You can't," Harold replied softly. "Not now. Not after it's spoken your name." "It what?" Harold's eyes drifted toward room 7. Its door was slightly open, a black slit of nothing behind it. Inside the office, a Harold bolted 3 locks and shoved a metal chair under the doorknob. Then he handed Caleb a wrinkled piece of paper. "Rules, room 7. Do not answer any voice. Do not stand near the walls. Do not let it learn your name. Do not look into room 7. Caleb's voice cracked. "I broke every single rule." Harold nodded slowly. "I know." Then he pointed at Caleb's wrist. "Lift your sleeve." Caleb did. A circular bruise was forming, dark purple, pulsing faintly. "What is that?" he whispered. Harold swallowed. "It's your door." "Door to what?" Harold pulled his collar aside, showing a long scar on his neck. "I had one," he said, 20 years ago. Caleb's mouth went dry. "Where does it lead?" Harold looked him dead in the eyes. "Into you. It opens into your memories, the ones you don't want anyone to touch." Caleb instinctively grabbed his wrist. The bruise throbbed twice, like something was knocking from the inside. A childhood memory flickered behind his eyes. His mother holding him in a basement, whispering, "You're not at fault. I'm right here." He pushed the memory away violently. "How do I close it?" Caleb asked. "The door. How do I stop it?" Harold exhaled slowly. "There are only 2 ways. 1, you give it someone else to feed on. Let their memories be eaten instead of yours." Caleb shook his head. "No, not happening." Harold nodded. "Then the second way," Caleb leaned in, "is to let it take your most precious memory." Caleb stared. "Will I survive?" "You'll live," Harold whispered, "but you'll be hollow." The lights went out, not dimmed. "Died." A razor-sharp cold washed into the room. Caleb pressed against the desk. Harold hissed, "Get away from the wall, now!" A sound dragged across the outside of the office. "Shh!" Like bare flesh sliding along plaster. Then the sound stopped, right behind Caleb's ear. Silence. Then a voice breathed into him. "Caleb." Harold trembled. "It knows your door is open." A blast of icy wind hit them. Harold spun toward the hallway, his face drained of all color. "God help us." Room 7's door was now wide open. A pitch-black void pulsed inside, swallowing the light around it. A figure stood in the doorway, tall, thin, head tilted at an unnatural angle. It stepped forward. Caleb froze. It was him. Same face, same build, same clothes, but hollow. Eyes like empty wells. Skin gray and stretched. Mouth sliced into a smile too wide to be human. The imitation Caleb raised a hand. "Give me the memory that hurts the most." Harold tried to pull Caleb back. "If you refuse," Harold said, voice breaking, "it will take everything." Caleb stared at his twisted double. His mother's face flickered through his mind again. That final moment when she held him crying, "You didn't do anything wrong. I love you." The warmest memory he had. The thing that kept him human. Caleb whispered, "I like it." The imitation Caleb smiled wide enough that Caleb heard skin tear. And then agony, not physical. This pain came from inside the soul itself, like fingers reaching through his rib cage and ripping something out that was never meant to be touched. He felt the memory tear loose. He heard his mother calling for him, then fading, then gone. The door on his wrist slammed shut. Caleb collapsed. Room 7's door drifted closed. Silence. Caleb woke up lying beside the highway. No motel, no herald, no cars, no footprints. Just miles of open desert. As if Sunset Vista Motel had never existed. A trucker pulled over. "You all right, man?" Caleb nodded weakly. "You got anyone to call? Family?" Caleb opened his mouth. Stopped. His mind was blank. A white void where his most sacred memory used to be. I don't know, he whispered. That night, Caleb checked into a perfectly normal motel in New Mexico. Clean sheets, bright lights, people in the hallway. Better. He turned off the lights, closed his eyes. 5 minutes later, knock. He opened his eyes. Knock, knock. 3 knocks. Not from the wall, not from outside, but from the closet. A thin line of darkness peeked from the cracked door. Caleb stood, heart numb. A voice calm and familiar whispered, "Caleb." He didn't answer. It whispered again, "I took your memory kits, but you forgot something." Caleb clenched his jaw. The door doesn't only open once, it opens every night. Caleb returned to bed. Lay down. No fear, no anger, no sadness, just emptiness. And that emotionless calm was the final proof that Room 7 had taken the one thing that mattered most. Not his memory, but the meaning behind it. Room 7 wasn't trapped in the desert anymore. It was wherever Caleb was, and wherever you are. When your room suddenly becomes too quiet, it might be waiting for your door to open next. If, while listening to this story, your room suddenly felt too quiet, if the AC stopped, if the outside noise vanished, if something inside the silence felt like it was watching you, do not get up, do not knock back. And if you hear your name whispered from a corner of the room you can't see, do not answer. Because the moment you say "who's there" is the moment your door opens. Room 7 loves curious people.